morning sun had barely peeked over the horizon when Anna arrived at Westfield Music Academy. The grand building stood quiet and empty at this early hour, just the way she liked it. Anna pulled her cleaning cart from the small supply closet and began her daily routine. The same one she had followed for the past 7 years. At 46, Anna's hands showed signs of hard work, slightly rough from years of scrubbing and polishing. Her dark hair, now streaked with silver, was always tied back in a simple bun. She moved through the halls like a shadow, careful not to draw attention to herself. The academy came alive with music by mid-morning, but these quiet hours belonged to her. Anna dusted the picture frames that lined the hallway, photographs of famous musicians who had once walked these same halls, their faces beaming with pride as they held their awards and certificates. Sometimes she would pause and wonder what it might feel like to stand in their shoes even for just a moment. "Good morning, Ms. Perez." The voice startled Anna from her thoughts. It was the night security guard finishing his shift. "Good morning, Mr. Chen," she replied with a small smile. He was one of the few people who bothered to learn her name. "You're always the first one here. Don't they pay you enough for overtime?" He joked, the same comment he made at least once a week. "I like the quiet," she answered simply. What she didn't say was that these early mornings were precious to her. They gave her a chance to be alone with the instruments, especially the pianos. Once Mr. Chen left, Anna finished cleaning the main hallway and moved toward the practice rooms. Here, rows of upright pianos waited for the day's students. She dusted each one carefully, running her cloth over the polished wood with a gentleness that would have surprised anyone who saw her. When she reached the last room, Anna paused. This one had her favorite piano, not the most expensive in the academy, but it had a warm tone that reminded her of her childhood. After making sure no one was around, she set down her cleaning supplies and sat on the bench. She didn't touch the keys right away. Instead, she closed her eyes and remembered her grandmother's small house in the countryside, the old upright piano that had been passed down through generations, and the hours she had spent as a little girl, learning to play simple melodies. "Music is a gift, Anita," her grandmother would say. "It stays with you even when everything else is gone." And it had stayed with her. Through all the hardships, all the difficult choices, all the dreams she had been forced to set aside. Anna opened her eyes and gently placed her fingers on the keys, not pressing down yet, just feeling their smooth, cool surface. Then very softly she began to play. It was a simple piece, one of the first her grandmother had taught her. Her fingers remembered the notes even after all these years, and the melody filled the small room. She played softly, afraid of being caught, but soon the music carried her away. She forgot about her worries, about the stack of bills waiting at home, about her daughter Lucia's college applications and the money they didn't have for tuition. For a few precious minutes, she was just a woman making music. The piece ended, and Anna sat in silence, her hands resting on the keys. Then she quickly stood up, straightened her uniform, and returned to her cleaning cart. This small moment of joy would have to last her through another long day. By 8 o'clock, the first teachers began to arrive. Anna was already working on the second floor, cleaning the theory classrooms. She kept her head down as Professor Rivera passed by with a stack of music sheets, not acknowledging her presence. Anna was used to being invisible. "Did you hear about the fundraiser next week?" a young teacher asked Professor Rivera as they walked down the hall. "Of course, the most important event of the season. All the wealthy donors will be there," Professor Rivera replied. "Director Harrington wants everything to be perfect." Anna made a mental note to double-check with her supervisor about the cleaning schedule for the fundraiser. These events always meant extra hours, which she welcomed despite the exhaustion. Extra hours meant extra pay, and every dollar counted. During her lunch break, Anna sat alone on a bench behind the building. She unwrapped her simple sandwich and ate while watching birds hop around on the grass. From here, she could hear the music floating out from the practice rooms, students working on their pieces, some with remarkable skill, others still struggling with the basics. One student was playing Chopin, a nocturne that Anna recognized immediately. Her grandmother had played it often. Without realizing it, Anna's fingers began to move on her lap, following the notes from memory. The piece was challenging, with delicate runs and emotional depth that had captivated her since childhood. When her break ended, Anna returned to her duties, cleaning the administrative offices. As she emptied Director Harrington's trash can, she noticed a program for the upcoming fundraiser on his desk. An evening of excellence, it read, featuring performances by the Academy's top students and faculty. Anna had cleaned through many such events over the years. She would work in the background making sure everything was spotless, while beautiful music filled the hall and elegantly dressed people sipped champagne and wrote checks to support the Academy. Two different worlds existing in the same space, never truly touching. Later that afternoon, Anna was mopping the floor near the grand performance hall when she heard someone playing the Steinway concert grand piano inside. Curiosity got the better of her, and she quietly opened the door just a crack to peek inside. A young man sat at the piano, practicing intensely. His fingers moved across the keys with impressive speed, but something was missing in his performance. The notes were all correct, but they lacked the emotion that the piece demanded. "More feeling, Thomas." Professor Harrington's voice boomed from the side of the stage. "This is Chopin, not a technical exercise. Where is the heart?" The student started again, but Anna could see the tension in his shoulders, hear the mechanical precision that still missed the soul of the music. Without thinking, she lingered longer than she should have. "Can I help you with something?" Professor Harrington had noticed her at the door. "No, sir." "Sorry, sir," Anna said quickly, backing away. "Just checking if the hall needs cleaning." "We're in the middle of a lesson," he said coldly. "Please come back later." "Yes, sir. Sorry for the interruption." Anna closed the door, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She had forgotten her place, forgotten that she was just the cleaning lady who should remain invisible. That evening, after finishing her shift, Anna waited at the bus stop outside the Academy. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Her body ached from a day of physical work, but her mind was still filled with the music she had heard. On the bus ride home, she closed her eyes and imagined herself playing that Chopin piece on the grand piano. In her mind, her fingers moved gracefully over the keys, bringing out all the emotion that the young student had missed. It was a silly dream, she knew. A cleaning lady with no formal music education, dreaming of playing Chopin on a concert grand piano. When Anna arrived at her small apartment, her daughter Lucia was already home from her part-time job, studying at the kitchen table. "How was work, Mom?" Lucia asked, looking up from her books. "The same as always," Anna replied with a tired smile. She didn't mention the piano or the music that still played in her head. Some dreams were too fragile to share, even with those you loved most. "I made dinner," Lucia said, "and I got another college brochure today. This one has a good music program." Anna felt a surge of pride mixed with worry. Lucia had inherited her love for music and had taught herself to play guitar. Unlike her mother, Lucia might actually have a chance to pursue her passion. "If only they could afford it. That's wonderful, honey." "We'll figure it out," Anna said, hoping her voice sounded more confident than she felt. After dinner, when Lucia had returned to her studies, Anna sat by the window of their small living room. In the corner stood an old keyboard they had found at a thrift store years ago. It wasn't much, many of the keys stuck, and it didn't have the rich sound of a real piano, but it had allowed her to keep music in her life. Anna moved to the keyboard and turned it on, keeping the volume low so as not to disturb the neighbors. Her fingers found the keys and she began to play that same Chopin nocturne she had heard earlier. She played from memory, from the heart, all the emotion of her life flowing through the music. In these private moments, she wasn't just a cleaning lady. She was a musician, expressing through her fingers what she could never say with words. Her hopes, her regrets, her dreams, and her love. The cheap keyboard might not have the majestic sound of the concert grand at the Academy, but in the quietness of her humble apartment, it was enough. Tomorrow would be another day of invisibility, of sore muscles and silent work. But tonight, in this moment, Anna played for herself, keeping alive the gift her grandmother had given her so many years ago, the gift of music that stayed with her through everything. Little did she know that in just a few days, her two separate worlds would collide in a way she could never have imagined, and that the music she kept hidden would finally be heard. The week of the fundraiser arrived, bringing a nervous energy to Westfield Music Academy. Anna noticed the difference immediately on Monday morning. The usual calm of her early cleaning routine was disrupted by delivery people bringing in flowers, staff setting up extra chairs in the performance hall, and administrators rushing through the halls with clipboards and worried expressions. "We need everything spotless for Friday," Anna's supervisor, Mrs. Patel told the cleaning staff during their morning meeting. Director Harrington says this is the most important fundraiser of the year. The future of the Academy's scholarship program depends on it. Anna nodded along with the others. She understood what was at stake. Her daughter Lucia had applied for one of those scholarships, though Anna hadn't told anyone at work about this. It felt strange to be cleaning the very hall where wealthy people would soon decide if students like her daughter deserved a chance. Anna, you'll be on duty during the event, Mrs. Patel continued. We need someone to keep the restrooms tidy and handle any spills or messes. You're our most reliable person. Yes, ma'am, Anna replied, hiding her disappointment. Working during the event meant extra pay, which they desperately needed. But it also meant she wouldn't be able to attend Lucia's small birthday celebration that evening. Another sacrifice in a long line of many. Throughout the week, Anna watched the Academy transform. The main hall bloomed with elaborate flower arrangements. The grand Steinway piano was polished until it gleamed like black glass. Programs were printed on thick, creamy paper, listing the evening's performances and the names of important donors. On Wednesday, Anna was cleaning the windows in the corridor when she overheard Director Harrington speaking to Professor Rivera about the event. Governor Wilson has confirmed he'll attend, Director Harrington said, his voice swelling with importance. And the Chandler family. You know they donated the East Wing last year. We need to impress them if we want funding for the new recording studio. The student showcase should do the trick, Professor Rivera replied. Young Thomas will perform the Chopin, and Isabella has prepared a stunning Liszt piece. Anna kept her head down as they passed, but her ears perked up at the mention of Chopin. She had heard Thomas practicing all week. He played with technical perfection, but still hadn't captured the heart of the piece. Anna wished she could tell him to close his eyes and feel the music, not just play it. But who would listen to a cleaning lady? On Thursday evening, Anna stayed late to help with the final preparations. The academy was eerily quiet, most of the students and staff having gone home to rest before the big day. Anna took advantage of the solitude to spend a few extra minutes cleaning the performance hall, making sure every surface shone. The grand piano sat center stage, bathed in a single spotlight. Anna glanced around to confirm she was alone, then cautiously approached it. This wasn't just any piano. It was a concert grand Steinway worth more than she would earn in 10 years. Anna hesitantly sat on the bench, not touching the keys at first, just absorbing the feeling of being on that stage. She imagined the hall filled with people, all eyes watching. The thought made her stomach twist with anxiety. Yet there was a thrill to it, too. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She knew she shouldn't if anyone caught her, but the pull was too strong. Very softly, barely making a sound, she began to play the opening notes of the Chopin Nocturne. The piano's touch was so responsive, so different from her old keyboard at home. It was like the difference between whispering and singing. Gradually, she became bolder, letting the music flow more freely. The rich tones filled the empty hall, echoing back to her. Anna closed her eyes, losing herself in the music. Her fingers remembered every note, every nuance her grandmother had taught her, along with all she had learned from secretly watching the academy's students and teachers over the years. She was so absorbed that she didn't hear the door open at the back of the hall. Didn't notice she was no longer alone until a voice cut through the final notes of the piece. Who gave you permission to touch that piano? Anna's hands froze on the keys. She turned to see Director Harrington standing in the center aisle, his face tight with disapproval. I'm sorry, sir, she said, standing quickly. You were just overstepping your position, he interrupted. That is a valuable instrument, not a toy for the cleaning staff. Anna's face burned with shame. It won't happen again, sir. See that it doesn't. Finish your work and go home. He turned to leave, then paused. And make sure you're properly dressed for tomorrow, no jeans. This is a formal event? Yes, sir. Anna watched him leave, her hands trembling slightly. She gathered her cleaning supplies, trying to push down the humiliation that threatened to choke her. On the bus ride home, she stared out the window at the darkened streets, wondering if she should call in sick tomorrow. But they needed the money, and Mrs. Patel was counting on her. Besides, she had endured worse in her life than a scolding. When Anna arrived home, Lucia was waiting with a simple dinner and concerned eyes. You're late, Mom. Everything okay? Anna forced a smile. Just extra work for the big event tomorrow. She didn't mention the incident with the piano. I'm sorry about missing your birthday dinner tomorrow. It's fine, Lucia said, though her disappointment showed. We'll celebrate on the weekend instead. Besides, I have good news. I got a callback for that music store job. Anna hugged her daughter tightly, grateful for her understanding and resilience. Lucia deserved so much more than life had given her so far. This was why Anna worked so hard, why she endured being invisible and sometimes humiliated. Every sacrifice was for this wonderful young woman who had her grandmother's musical gift and her mother's determination. Friday arrived with perfect weather, as if even the skies were cooperating with Director Harrington's plans. Anna wore her one good outfit, a simple black skirt and white blouse that could pass for formal attire, underneath her work uniform. She would change just before the event began. The day passed in a blur of last-minute preparations. By late afternoon, Anna's back ached from the extra work, but everything was ready. She changed in the small employee bathroom, carefully folding her uniform into her bag. Looking in the mirror, she tucked a stray hair back into her bun and took a deep breath. Her job tonight was to be even more invisible than usual, present only when needed, out of sight otherwise. The guests began arriving at 6 o'clock. From her position near the restrooms, Anna watched them enter. Women in elegant dresses, men in expensive suits, all of them representing money and influence. She recognized some faces from newspaper photos. Local politicians, business leaders, old money families whose names adorned buildings across the city. The cocktail hour buzzed with conversation and laughter. Anna moved discreetly through the edges of the crowd, collecting empty glasses and wiping up spills. No one looked at her face, though a few handed her their used napkins without breaking their conversations. At 7:30, Director Harrington clinked a spoon against his glass, calling for attention. The crowd moved toward the performance hall, finding their seats as the lights dimmed slightly. Anna positioned herself at the back, ready to handle any issues that might arise during the performances. Director Harrington took the stage, welcoming everyone with a practice speech about the importance of music education and the Academy's proud traditions. Anna half listened while scanning the room for anything out of place. Tonight you'll hear from our most talented students and faculty, Director Harrington concluded. These performances represent the excellence that your generous support makes possible. The first few performances went smoothly. A violin prodigy playing Paganini, a faculty quartet performing Mozart, a young cellist's emotional rendition of Bach. The audience applauded warmly after each piece. Then Thomas took the stage for his Chopin nocturne. Anna found herself holding her breath as he sat at the piano. Please feel it this time, she thought. Thomas played flawlessly, his technique impeccable. But Anna could hear what was missing. The wistfulness, the gentle longing that made this piece special. She saw a few audience members check their watches. Others nodded appreciatively at the technical skill, but no one seemed truly moved. During the intermission, Anna was busy cleaning up a spilled drink when she overheard Director Harrington speaking urgently to Professor Rivera. Isabella just called. She's sick, food poisoning. She can't perform the list. That's our closing piece, Professor Rivera said, alarmed. We need something impressive to end with before the donation pledges. What about letting Thomas play another piece? He only prepared the Chopin, Professor Rivera replied. We need something now. Director Harrington rubbed his forehead, scanning the room as if a solution might appear among the mingling guests. His eyes landed on Anna, and something shifted in his expression. Anna quickly looked away, pretending she hadn't been listening. She moved to another section, wiping down a table that was already clean. A moment later, she felt a hand on her shoulder. You, the cleaning lady. Director Harrington's voice was low but commanding. You were playing Chopin in the hall yesterday. Anna's mouth went dry. Sir, I apologized for that. I didn't mean, never mind that now. Our closing performer is ill. You know the piece, don't you? Anna stared at him, not understanding. Sir? The week of the fundraiser arrived, bringing a nervous energy to Westfield Music Academy. Anna noticed the difference immediately on Monday morning. The usual calm of her early cleaning routine was disrupted by delivery people bringing in flowers, staff setting up extra chairs in the performance hall, and administrators rushing through the halls with clipboards and worried expressions. We need everything spotless for Friday, Anna's supervisor, Mrs. Patel, told the cleaning staff during their morning meeting. Director Harrington says this is the most important fundraiser of the year. The future of the Academy's scholarship program depends on it. Anna nodded along with the others. She understood what was at stake. Her daughter Lucia had applied for one of those scholarships, though Anna hadn't told anyone at work about this. It felt strange to be cleaning the very hall where wealthy people would soon decide if students like her daughter deserved a chance. Anna, you'll be on duty during the event, Mrs. Patel continued. We need someone to keep the restrooms tidy and handle any spills or messes. You're our most reliable person. Yes, ma'am, Anna replied, hiding her disappointment. Working during the event meant extra pay, which they desperately needed. But it also meant she wouldn't be able to attend Lucia's small birthday celebration that evening. Another sacrifice in a long line of many. Throughout the week, Anna watched the Academy transform. The main hall bloomed with elaborate flower arrangements. The grand Steinway piano was polished until it gleamed like black glass. Programs were printed on thick, creamy paper, listing the evening's performances and the names of important donors. On Wednesday, Anna was cleaning the windows in the corridor when she overheard Director Harrington speaking to Professor Rivera about the event. Governor Wilson has confirmed he'll attend, Director Harrington said, his voice swelling with importance. And the Chandler family. You know they donated the East Wing last year. We need to impress them if we want funding for the new recording studio. The student showcase should do the trick, Professor Rivera replied. Young Thomas will perform the Chopin, and Isabella has prepared a stunning Liszt piece. Anna kept her head down as they passed, but her ears perked up at the mention of Chopin. She had heard Thomas practicing all week. He played with technical perfection, but still hadn't captured the heart of the piece. Anna wished she could tell him to close his eyes and feel the music, not just play it. But who would listen to a cleaning lady? On Thursday evening, Anna stayed late to help with the final preparations. The academy was eerily quiet, most of the students and staff having gone home to rest before the big day. Anna took advantage of the solitude to spend a few extra minutes cleaning the performance hall, making sure every surface shone. The grand piano sat center stage, bathed in a single spotlight. Anna glanced around to confirm she was alone, then cautiously approached it. This wasn't just any piano. It was a concert grand Steinway worth more than she would earn in 10 years. Anna hesitantly sat on the bench, not touching the keys at first, just absorbing the feeling of being on that stage. She imagined the hall filled with people, all eyes watching. The thought made her stomach twist with anxiety, yet there was a thrill to it too. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She shouldn't. She knew she shouldn't. If anyone caught her, but the pull was too strong. Very softly, barely making a sound, she began to play the opening notes of the Chopin Nocturne. The piano's touch was so responsive, so different from her old keyboard at home. It was like the difference between whispering and singing. Gradually, she became bolder, letting the music flow more freely. The rich tones filled the empty hall, echoing back to her. Anna closed her eyes, losing herself in the music. Her fingers remembered every note, every nuance her grandmother had taught her, along with all she had learned from secretly watching the academy's students and teachers over the years. She was so absorbed that she didn't hear the door open at the back of the hall. Didn't notice she was no longer alone until a voice cut through the final notes of the piece. Who gave you permission to touch that piano? Anna's hands froze on the keys. She turned to see Director Harrington standing in the center aisle, his face tight with disapproval. I'm sorry, sir, she said, standing quickly. You were just overstepping your position, he interrupted. That is a valuable instrument, not a toy for the cleaning staff. Anna's face burned with shame. It won't happen again, sir. See that it doesn't. Finish your work and go home. He turned to leave, then paused. And make sure you're properly dressed for tomorrow. No jeans. This is a formal event. Yes, sir. Anna watched him leave, her hands trembling slightly. She gathered her cleaning supplies, trying to push down the humiliation that threatened to choke her. On the bus ride home, she stared out the window at the darkened streets, wondering if she should call in sick tomorrow, but they needed the money, and Mrs. Patel was counting on her. Besides, she had endured worse in her life than a scolding. When Anna arrived home, Lucia was waiting with a simple dinner and concerned eyes. You're late, Mom. Everything okay? Anna forced a smile. Just extra work for the big event tomorrow. She didn't mention the incident with the piano. I'm sorry about missing your birthday dinner tomorrow. It's fine, Lucia said, though her disappointment showed. We'll celebrate on the weekend instead. Besides, I have good news. I got a call back for that music store job. Anna hugged her daughter tightly, grateful for her understanding and resilience. Lucia deserved so much more than life had given her so far. This was why Anna worked so hard, why she endured being invisible and sometimes humiliated. Every sacrifice was for this wonderful young woman who had her grandmother's musical gift and her mother's determination. Friday arrived with perfect weather, as if even the skies were cooperating with Director Harrington's plans. Anna wore her one good outfit, a simple black skirt and white blouse that could pass for formal attire, underneath her work uniform. She would change just before the event began. The day passed in a blur of last-minute preparations. By late afternoon, Anna's back ached from the extra work, but everything was ready. She changed in the small employee bathroom, carefully folding her uniform into her bag. Looking in the mirror, she tucked a stray hair back into her bun and took a deep breath. Her job tonight was to be even more invisible than usual, present only when needed, out of sight otherwise. The guests began arriving at 6 o'clock. From her position near the restrooms, Anna watched them enter. Women in elegant dresses, men in expensive suits, all of them representing money and influence. She recognized some faces from newspaper photos. Local politicians, business leaders, old money families whose names adorned buildings across the city. The cocktail hour buzzed with conversation and laughter. Anna moved discreetly through the edges of the crowd, collecting empty glasses and wiping up spills. No one looked at her face, though a few handed her their used napkins without breaking their conversations. At 7:30, Director Harrington clinked a spoon against his glass, calling for attention. The crowd moved toward the performance hall, finding their seats as the lights dimmed slightly. Anna positioned herself at the back, ready to handle any issues that might arise during the performances. Director Harrington took the stage, welcoming everyone with a practice speech about the importance of music education and the Academy's proud traditions. Anna half listened while scanning the room for anything out of place. Tonight, you'll hear from our most talented students and faculty, Director Harrington concluded. These performances represent the excellence that your generous support makes possible. The first few performances went smoothly, a violin prodigy playing Paganini, a faculty quartet performing Mozart, a young cellist's emotional rendition of Bach. The audience applauded warmly after each piece. Then Thomas took the stage for his Chopin nocturne. Anna found herself holding her breath as he sat at the piano. Please feel it this time, she thought. Thomas played flawlessly, his technique impeccable. But Anna could hear what was missing, the wistfulness, the gentle longing that made this piece special. She saw a few audience members check their watches. Others nodded appreciatively at the technical skill, but no one seemed truly moved. During the intermission, Anna was busy cleaning up a spilled drink when she overheard Director Harrington speaking urgently to Professor Rivera. Isabella just called. She's sick, food poisoning. She can't perform the list. That's our closing piece, Professor Rivera said, alarmed. We need something impressive to end with before the donation pledges. What about letting Thomas play another piece? He only prepared the Chopin, Professor Rivera replied. We need something now. Director Harrington rubbed his forehead, scanning the room as if a solution might appear among the mingling guests. His eyes landed on Anna, and something shifted in his expression. Anna quickly looked away, pretending she hadn't been listening. She moved to another section, wiping down a table that was already clean. A moment later, she felt a hand on her shoulder. You, the cleaning lady. Director Harrington's voice was low but commanding. You were playing Chopin in the hall yesterday. Anna's mouth went dry. Sir, I apologized for that. I didn't mean— Never mind that now. Our closing performer is ill. You know the piece, don't you? Anna stared at him, not understanding. Sir? The Chopin Nocturne. I heard you play it. Was that a fluke, or can you actually play it properly? The question hung in the air between them. Anna's heart pounded so loudly she was sure he could hear it. Was he suggesting what she thought he was? Or was this some kind of joke at her expense? I know the piece, she said carefully. A strange smile crossed his face. Good. Then you're going to perform it for us tonight. Anna stood frozen, unable to believe what she had just heard. Director Harrington wanted her. The cleaning lady to perform at the fundraiser? In front of all these important people? Sir, I don't think, she began, her voice barely audible. I don't need you to think, Director Harrington cut in, checking his watch. I need you to play. Our final performer is ill, and we need a closing piece before the donation pledges. You played that Chopin piece better than half my students. Anna's mind raced. Was this a genuine opportunity or some cruel joke? Would he humiliate her in front of everyone? Her instinct was to refuse, to retreat to the safety of invisibility. I can't, she whispered. I'm not a performer. I'm just the cleaning lady. Yes, I'm aware. His expression hardened. Look, you have two options. Either you play the piece or you can explain to Mrs. Patel why you were using Academy property without permission. I'm sure she'd be interested to know what you do when you think no one is watching. The threat was clear. Anna could lose her job. The job that paid her rent, bought food, and kept her daughter in school. 5 minutes, Director Harrington said, turning away. Meet me backstage. And do something with your hair. He walked away, leaving Anna trembling. She hurried to the employee bathroom, her mind in chaos. This couldn't be happening. She had no formal training, no experience performing. These people had paid thousands of dollars to be here. They would laugh at her, the cleaning woman pretending to be a musician. In the bathroom mirror, Anna hardly recognized her own face, pale with fear. She removed the clip from her hair, letting it fall to her shoulders. There was nothing she could do about her simple clothes or her hands roughened by years of work. But perhaps she could play with dignity, even if it cost her everything. Anna took a deep breath and headed backstage. Professor Rivera was there, looking stressed as he spoke to a young stagehand. Ah, there you are, Director Harrington said when he spotted her. This is Anna. She'll be performing the Chopin Nocturne in place of Isabella. Professor Rivera looked at Anna with confusion. The cleaning lady? Is this some kind of joke, Richard? I heard her play yesterday. Trust me on this. Director Harrington turned to Anna. You'll go on after the announcement. Just play the piece like you did yesterday. Anna nodded, unable to form words. The hall beyond the curtain seemed impossibly vast. She could hear the murmur of the audience returning to their seats after intermission. Ladies and gentlemen, Director Harrington's voice boomed as he took the stage. Due to an unexpected illness, Isabella Rodriguez will not be performing tonight's closing piece. Instead, we have a special surprise. Anna's legs felt weak as she listened to him speak. Music has the power to emerge in unexpected places, he continued. Tonight we have a unique opportunity to experience that power firsthand. Please welcome Anna Perez to the stage. A polite but confused applause followed as Anna stepped out from behind the curtain. The bright lights momentarily blinded her. When her vision cleared, she saw hundreds of faces staring back at her. Some looked curious, others bewildered or even amused. She caught snippets of whispered conversations. Isn't that the cleaning woman? What is Richard thinking? Is this some kind of charity demonstration? Anna's face burned with embarrassment as she made her way to the grand piano. The walk felt endless. When she finally reached the bench, she sat down, grateful for the solid support beneath her. Her hands were shaking so badly she wasn't sure she could play at all. For a moment, she simply sat there staring at the keys. The audience's whispering grew louder. Someone coughed. Anna closed her eyes, trying to find her center. Then, suddenly, she thought of her grandmother. She remembered sitting beside her as a child, watching those weathered hands coax beautiful sounds from an old piano. Music comes from here, her grandmother would say, placing a hand over her heart. Not from here, she'd add, tapping Anna's head. Feel it first, then play it. Anna took a deep breath and placed her hands on the keys. She began to play softly at first, almost hesitantly. The opening notes of the nocturne filled the hall. For the first few measures, she was acutely aware of every eye upon her, every potential mistake, every reason she shouldn't be on this stage. But gradually, the music itself took over. She forgot about the audience, about Director Harrington, about her worn clothes and calloused hands. There was only the music, the gentle, melancholy melody that had been her companion through so many quiet evenings. The piece bloomed under her fingers, each phrase flowing naturally into the next. Anna played with a raw emotion that came from years of storing music in her heart, while her hands were busy with mops and brooms. There was longing in her interpretation and pain, but also a profound beauty that only someone who had truly lived could express. Halfway through the piece, Anna dared to open her eyes. The audience had gone completely still. Gone were the whispers and confused glances. Instead, she saw faces transfixed, some with eyes closed, others leaning forward in their seats. An elderly man in the front row had tears streaming down his cheeks. Anna's confidence grew. This was her moment, perhaps the only one she would ever have to show who she really was beneath the uniform. She played the climax of the piece with passion, her body swaying slightly with the music, before returning to the gentle theme that closed the nocturne. As the final notes faded into silence, Anna kept her fingers on the keys, afraid to break the spell. For a heartbeat, the entire hall remained perfectly still, as if no one dared to breathe. Then the applause began, tentative at first, then building into thunderous approval. Anna looked up, startled by the response. People were standing, their faces alight with genuine appreciation. It wasn't polite applause. It was a recognition of something authentic and unexpected. Anna stood shakily and offered a small, uncertain bow. The applause continued, washing over her in waves. She caught sight of Director Harrington at the side of the stage, his expression a mixture of shock and calculation. As Anna made her way backstage, her legs still unsteady, she was met by Professor Rivera. The skepticism had vanished from his face, replaced by open curiosity. "Where did you learn to play like that?" he asked. "My grandmother taught me the basics when I was little," Anna replied, her voice hoarse with emotion. "The rest, I just listened and practiced whenever I could." "Without formal training? Without sheet music?" Anna nodded, suddenly self-conscious again. "I watch the students practice. Sometimes I borrow discarded music books from the recycling bin." Professor Rivera opened his mouth to respond, but was interrupted by Director Harrington, who swept in with a broad smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Anna, what a performance!" He clasped her hand. "Absolutely inspired. I had no idea our cleaning staff harbored such hidden talent." Anna withdrew her hand politely. "Thank you for the opportunity, sir." "No, thank you," he said, lowering his voice. "The donors are buzzing. This little story of yours, the cleaning lady with the soul of an artist. It's exactly the kind of heartwarming narrative that opens checkbooks." Anna's moment of pride dimmed. So that was it. She hadn't been given a chance to perform. She had been put on display, a curiosity to entertain the wealthy. "If you'll excuse me," she said quietly, "I should get back to work. The bathrooms need checking." Director Harrington laughed as if she'd made a joke. "Work? No. I need you in the reception hall. The donors want to meet our discovery." Anna found herself being steered toward the reception area, where guests mingled with champagne glasses in hand. As soon as they entered, people turned to look at her. Some applauded again. Others approached with curious smiles. "That was quite remarkable," said an elegant older woman, studying Anna as if she were an unusual specimen. "How long have you been the Academy's custodian?" 7 years, ma'am," Anna replied. "And you've been hiding this talent all that time? Playing for yourself after hours when everyone had gone home?" The woman seemed delighted by the romantic notion. Before Anna could answer, Director Harrington smoothly interjected. "Anna represents exactly what we strive for at Westfield, discovering musical potential wherever it exists. With proper training, who knows what she might accomplish." Anna stood uncomfortably as more people gathered around, asking questions, making comments that ranged from genuinely appreciative to condescendingly surprised. "You play with such feeling." "Who would have thought? It just shows you never can tell by looking at someone." A tall man with silver hair approached, his expression thoughtful rather than merely curious. "That was a beautiful performance, Ms. Perez. You have a rare gift." "Thank you, sir," Anna said, noticing how he addressed her by name. "With respect. I'm Dr. Winters, head of the Community Outreach Program at the State University. Have you ever considered formal training?" Anna gave a small, sad smile. "Every day, but life had other plans." Dr. Winters nodded, understanding in his eyes. Perhaps it's not too late for those plans to change. Before he could continue, Director Harrington whisked Anna away to meet more donors. For the next hour, she felt like a prop in someone else's play, trotted out to impress people who would never have glanced at her twice if they had passed her in the hallway with her mop. Yet amid the uncomfortable attention, something was changing inside Anna. Each time someone praised her playing, each time she saw genuine appreciation in a listener's eyes, a long, dormant part of her stirred to life. The music she had kept hidden for so long had been heard, really heard, and had touched people's hearts. As the evening finally wound down and the last guests departed, Anna found herself alone in the reception hall, helping to clear the empty glasses despite Director Harrington's insistence that she was off duty for the night. Old habits, she had said with a shrug. Now, as she placed glasses on a tray, she noticed Professor Rivera watching her from across the room. He approached slowly as if seeing her for the first time. "You know," he said, "we have a staff position opening in the music library. It pays better than custodial work and you'd be surrounded by music all day." Anna looked up, surprised. "Are you offering me a job?" "Consider it a first step," he replied. "There's also the possibility of lessons if you're interested." Several faculty members were quite impressed tonight. Anna's heart raced at the thought. Actual piano lessons with real teachers. The chance to learn properly, to understand the theory behind the music she played by ear. "I'd be very interested," she said carefully, hardly daring to hope. "But why would you do this for me?" Professor Rivera considered her question. "Because talent deserves nurturing, regardless of where it's found. And because music is a language everyone should have the chance to speak fluently." He paused, especially those who already have something meaningful to say. As Anna walked to the bus stop that night, her mind spun with possibilities that had seemed impossible just hours before. The evening had begun with humiliation, transformed into triumph, and ended with an unexpected door opening before her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucia. "How was the fancy party? Boring without me to celebrate my birthday, right?" Anna smiled at her daughter's message, typing back. "Actually, something incredible happened. Can't wait to tell you. And I think we might have more than your birthday to celebrate this weekend." She put the phone away and gazed up at the night sky. For the first time in years, Anna allowed herself to imagine a different future, one where her hands created beauty, instead of just cleaning up after others. One where her music could be shared, not hidden. The bus approached, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Anna stepped forward, ready to board and return home. But she knew that on Monday, when she returned to the academy, everything would be different. She would be different, because finally, after all these years, someone had heard her play. Anna woke early on Saturday morning, momentarily confused by the unfamiliar feeling in her chest. It took her a few seconds to recognize it as hope, a sensation so long absent from her life that it felt almost like a stranger. The events of the previous night seemed dreamlike in the morning light. Had she really played Chopin on the Academy's grand piano? Had people really applauded her, a cleaning woman who learned music by watching and listening? She got out of bed quietly, careful not to wake Lucia. In the small kitchen, she made coffee and sat by the window, watching the city slowly come to life. Today, for the first time in years, she didn't have to rush to a weekend cleaning job or worry about stretching their limited funds until payday. Today, she could simply be. When Lucia finally emerged from her bedroom, yawning and tying her hair back, she found her mother still sitting by the window with a cold cup of coffee. "Mom, everything okay?" Lucia asked, concern in her voice. Anna looked up and smiled. "Better than okay. Sit down. I have something to tell you." Lucia listened with wide eyes as Anna recounted the events of the fundraiser, how Director Harrington had forced her to perform, her terror on stage, the way the music had eventually taken over, and the audience's reaction. "They offered me a job in the music library," Anna finished, "and Professor Rivera mentioned lessons." "Actual piano lessons, Lucia," Lucia squealed and threw her arms around her mother. "That's amazing." "I always knew you were talented. All those nights I heard you playing on that old keyboard. I knew you had something special." Anna hugged her daughter back, emotion tightening her throat. "I don't know what will come of it. Maybe nothing. Maybe they'll change their minds by Monday." "No way," Lucia said firmly. "They recognized your talent, Mom. They can't take that back." "We'll see," Anna replied, not wanting to get her hopes up too high. Life had taught her that opportunities often came with complications. But enough about that, it's your birthday weekend. What should we do to celebrate both our good news? They spent the day together, splurging slightly on lunch at their favorite cafe and window shopping downtown. Anna felt lighter than she had in years, allowing herself to imagine possibilities that had long seemed beyond reach. Maybe Lucia wouldn't have to struggle the way she had. Maybe it wasn't too late for either of them to pursue their dreams. Sunday passed quietly, but by Sunday night, Anna's anxiety began to resurface. What if Friday's performance had been a fluke? What if she wasn't really talented, just lucky? What if the staff at the academy were already regretting their offers? She slept poorly, and by Monday morning her nerves were frayed. Instead of her usual cleaning uniform, she wore her best outfit, the same black skirt and white blouse from the fundraiser. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean and neat. "You look nice," Lucia said as Anna prepared to leave. "Like a music librarian." Anna smiled weakly. Let's hope they still think so. The bus ride to the academy felt interminable. Anna clutched her bag tightly, her stomach knotted with tension. When she finally arrived, she hesitated at the entrance, suddenly uncertain. Should she go to the custodial office as usual, or report somewhere else? No one had given her specific instructions. Taking a deep breath, Anna entered the building. The main hallway seemed different somehow, though nothing had physically changed. Or perhaps it was Anna herself who had changed, seeing the place through new eyes. She decided to check in with Mrs. Patel first, out of respect for her supervisor of 7 years. As she approached the custodial office, she heard voices inside. "Completely unprofessional," someone was saying. "Using the cleaning staff as performers? What's next, the cafeteria workers performing ballet?" Anna froze outside the door, her hand raised to knock. "Director Harrington says she has genuine talent," Mrs. Patel replied. Several of the faculty were impressed. "It sets a bad precedent," the other voice insisted. "Everyone will be expecting special treatment now." Anna lowered her hand and backed away from the door. Perhaps it was better to go directly to the music library. She turned and nearly collided with a tall figure. "Anna, just the person I was looking for." It was Professor Rivera carrying a stack of sheet music. "I was about to check if you were still interested in the library position." "Yes," Anna said quickly. "Very interested. Excellent. Let me show you where you'll be working." Anna followed him, aware of curious glances from students and staff as they passed. News of her performance had clearly spread throughout the academy. Some looks were friendly, others skeptical or even resentful. The music library was on the second floor, a large room lined with shelves of sheet music, books, and recordings. Tables were scattered throughout, and a small office area stood in one corner. "You'll work with Dr. Lee, our head librarian," Professor Rivera explained, "cataloging new acquisitions, helping students find materials, maintaining the collection. The hours are regular, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday." Anna nodded, taking it all in. "And the lessons you mentioned?" "Ah, yes. Several faculty members have expressed interest in working with you. We've arranged for you to have access to a practice room during your lunch break, and for 1 hour after your shift ends. Professor Wilson has agreed to give you 2 lessons a week to start." It was more than Anna had dared to hope for. A steady job with regular hours surrounded by music and actual lessons with a professor. "I don't know how to thank you," she said quietly. Professor Rivera smiled. "No need for thanks. But I should warn you, not everyone is thrilled about this arrangement." "There may be some resistance." "I heard," Anna admitted. "Outside Mrs. Patel's office." "People fear change," he said with a shrug. "And some people have very fixed ideas about who belongs where. You'll have to prove yourself all over again, I'm afraid." "I'm used to that," Anna replied, lifting her chin slightly. "I've been proving myself my whole life." Dr. Lee arrived then, a small, precise woman with silver-rimmed glasses who surveyed Anna with keen eyes. "So you're our pianist?" she said. "I heard your performance on Friday. Quite impressive for someone without formal training." "Thank you," Anna said, uncertain whether it was truly a compliment. "I run a tight ship here," Dr. Lee continued. "Everything has its place and everything must be returned to its place." "Can you read music?" "Yes," Anna said. "Not perfectly, but I can follow a score." "Good, that's essential for this job. You'll need to know what you're filing." "Professor Rivera tells me you start today?" Anna glanced at Professor Rivera, who nodded encouragingly. "Yes," she confirmed. "I'm ready to begin." The next few hours were a whirlwind of information as Dr. Lee showed Anna the library's organizational system, the computer catalog, and her various responsibilities. By lunchtime, Anna's head was swimming, but she felt exhilarated. This was work that engaged her mind, not just her hands. "You have a practice session scheduled at 1 o'clock, Dr. Lee reminded her as the lunch hour approached. "Room 107. Don't be late. Professor Wilson values punctuality." Anna nodded, suddenly nervous again. She hadn't touched a piano since Friday night. What if she couldn't replicate that performance? What if Professor Wilson decided she wasn't worth teaching after all? She ate her sandwich quickly in the small break room, then made her way to practice room 107. The room was modest but well equipped with an upright piano, a music stand, and a small window overlooking the academy grounds. Anna sat at the piano, allowing her fingers to rest lightly on the keys. This instrument wasn't as grand as the Steinway she had played at the fundraiser, but it was far superior to her old keyboard at home. She began to play scales, warming up her fingers. The familiar patterns calmed her nerves. She was so absorbed that she didn't notice when the door opened behind her. "Your hand position needs work," a voice observed. Anna turned to see an older man with wild gray hair and intense eyes. "Professor Wilson." "Sorry," she said, quickly standing. "I was just—" "Sit," he commanded. "Play the C major scale again, slowly." Anna complied, suddenly acutely aware of every movement of her fingers. "You curl your fourth finger too much," Professor Wilson said. "And your wrist is too stiff. Who taught you to play like that?" "No one, really," Anna admitted. "My grandmother showed me the basics when I was very young. The rest I figured out by watching the students here." Professor Wilson made a sound between a grunt and a huff. "So you've been teaching yourself by watching through doors and windows?" "For how long?" 7 years, Anna said. "Since I started working here. And before that?" Anna hesitated. "I played a little as a child, but we couldn't afford lessons or a piano. There were many years when I didn't play at all." Professor Wilson studied her with those intense eyes. "Yet you performed Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major from memory on Friday night. And from what I hear, you moved the audience to tears." "I love that piece," Anna said simply. "I've listened to it hundreds of times. I feel it in my heart." A slight smile crossed the professor's face. "Feeling is good. Technique is better. Both together, that's what makes a true musician." He sat on a chair beside the piano. "Play it for me now. The Chopin." Anna's hands trembled slightly as she began to play. Without the pressure of a large audience, she found herself more aware of technical flaws in her playing, the uneven trills, the occasional missed note, the imperfect pedaling. Professor Wilson listened in silence, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he nodded once. "You have a gift for interpretation," he said. "Your phrasing is intuitive and emotionally honest, but your technique is full of holes. You've built a house on sand, Ms. Perez." Anna's heart sank. "So you don't think I can learn properly?" "I didn't say that," Professor Wilson replied sharply. "I said your foundation is weak. We'll need to rebuild from the ground up. Scales, arpeggios, finger exercises. You won't be playing Chopin in our lessons for quite some time." "Oh," Anna said, disappointed but determined. "I understand. Do you?" Professor Wilson fixed her with a penetrating gaze. "This won't be easy. You're starting formal training decades later than most of my students. You'll need to work twice as hard to catch up. Are you willing to do that?" "Yes," Anna said without hesitation. "I've waited my whole life for this chance. I won't waste it." For the first time, Professor Wilson smiled fully. "Good answer. Let's begin with proper hand position." The hour passed quickly as Professor Wilson corrected Anna's technique, showing her how to curve her fingers properly, how to relax her wrist, how to use her arm weight instead of just her fingers. It was mentally and physically exhausting, but Anna absorbed every word, every demonstration. As their session ended, Professor Wilson handed her a book of exercises. "Practice these every day. Minimum 1 hour. I'll see you on Thursday." "Thank you, Professor," Anna said, clutching the book like a treasure. "Don't thank me yet," he warned. "This is just the beginning, and it gets much harder from here." As Anna returned to the library for the afternoon shift, her mind was buzzing with everything she had learned. Dr. Lee raised an eyebrow when she saw Anna's flushed face and bright eyes. "How was your first lesson with the dragon?" she asked. "Challenging," Anna admitted. "But wonderful," Dr. Lee smiled slightly. "He only pushes the ones he thinks have potential. Consider yourself fortunate." That evening, when Anna returned to their apartment, Lucia was waiting eagerly for news. "How was it?" she demanded as soon as Anna walked through the door. "Different," Anna said, setting down her bag and the precious book of exercises. "Challenging. Wonderful and terrifying at the same time." She smiled at her daughter. "I think this might really be happening, Lucia. I think our lives might really be changing." Lucia hugged her tightly. I always knew you were meant for more than just cleaning floors, Mom. Always. Later, as Anna practiced her exercises on their old keyboard, she reflected on how quickly life could change. Just 4 days ago, she had been invisible, a shadow moving through the halls of the academy. Now people knew her name, looked her in the eye, spoke to her as a person with value. It wasn't all positive attention. She had noticed the whispers, the skeptical glances, the resentment from some quarters. The road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in decades, that road led somewhere beyond mere survival. Anna played the simple 5-finger exercise Professor Wilson had assigned, concentrating on keeping her wrist relaxed, her fingers properly curved. It was basic, far less exciting than the Chopin she loved, but she understood its purpose. Sometimes you had to go back to the beginning to move forward properly. Like her life, she thought. At 46, she was starting over, rebuilding her foundation. And this time, she would do it right. 6 months passed, marked by the changing seasons outside the academy windows and the steady progression of Anna's new life inside them. Winter had given way to spring, and spring was now blossoming into early summer. The days grew longer, allowing sunlight to stream through the practice room window during Anna's evening sessions. These 6 months had been the most challenging and rewarding of Anna's adult life. Each day brought new lessons, not just in music, but in navigating a world she had previously only observed from the shadows. In the music library, she had gradually earned Dr. Lee's respect with her meticulous organization and genuine interest in the materials under her care. Students who had initially regarded her with curiosity or skepticism now came to her regularly for help finding specific scores or recommendations for their repertoire. You have a knack for matching people with the right piece, Dr. Lee had observed after watching Anna help a frustrated violin student find a sonata that suited both his technical level and personal taste. But it was Anna's progress at the piano that truly transformed her. 5 days a week she practiced during her lunch hour and after work, her fingers growing stronger and more precise with each session. Twice weekly she met with Professor Wilson, who pushed her relentlessly while gradually revealing a gruff kindness beneath his demanding exterior. "Your hands have memory," he had told her during their 3rd month of lessons. "They remember bad habits, but they also remember music in a way most students take years to develop. It's as if your brain bypassed traditional learning and went straight to the heart of the piece." Anna had treasured this rare compliment, especially as it came after an hour of being drilled on a particularly challenging finger exercise. At home, things were changing too. Anna and Lucia had moved to a slightly larger apartment, still modest but with enough space for a real piano, a used upright that Professor Wilson had helped them find for a reasonable price. The sound filled their new home with possibilities. Lucia had received a partial scholarship to the local community college, where she was studying music education while working part-time at the music store. Mother and daughter often played duets in the evenings, Lucia on guitar and Anna on piano, their different musical paths intertwining in harmony. But not everything had been smooth. There were still those at the academy who viewed Anna as an interloper, someone who had bypassed the traditional path and didn't deserve her place among them. Director Harrington, in particular, had cooled toward her once the publicity from her discovery had faded. She sometimes caught him watching her with calculating eyes, as if wondering if she had outlived her usefulness as a heartwarming story for donors. Today marked an important milestone, the Academy's spring recital. For the first time, Anna would perform not as an emergency replacement or curiosity, but as a legitimate student of the Academy, alongside others who had been studying there for years. As she sorted sheet music in the library that morning, her stomach fluttered with nerves. Professor Wilson had selected a Beethoven bagatelle for her, technically within her growing capabilities, but still challenging enough to showcase her progress. "You'll be fine," Dr. Lee said, noticing Anna's distraction as she misplaced a Mozart sonata in the Chopin section. "Sorry," Anna said, quickly retrieving the score and filing it correctly. "I'm a bit nervous about tonight." "Understandable. First recitals are always nerve-wracking." Dr. Lee adjusted her glasses. "But I've heard you practicing. You're well prepared." Coming from the typically reserved Dr. Lee, this was high praise indeed. Anna's lunch hour was spent not eating but practicing, running through the bagatelle one more time. Professor Wilson had warned her against over-practicing on performance day, but she couldn't help herself. "You'll wear yourself out before tonight," he said, appearing in the doorway of her practice room. "The piece is in your hands now. Trust them." Anna nodded, reluctantly closing the piano lid. "I just want to do well." "For whom?" Professor Wilson asked, his eyes sharp. Anna considered the question. "For myself," she said finally. "And for you, for believing in me." He nodded, satisfied with her answer. "Good. Not for the audience, not for the critics. Play for the music itself, and you won't go wrong." As the afternoon wore on, Anna found it increasingly difficult to concentrate on her library duties. Dr. Lee finally shooed her away an hour early. "Go home. Eat something, change your clothes, and calm your nerves," she instructed. "I'll see you at the recital." At home, Anna found a surprise waiting. Lucia had come back early from her classes and prepared a light meal. "You need to eat before performing," Lucia insisted. "I remember how you always made sure I ate before my school concerts." Anna smiled at her daughter's thoughtfulness. They had switched roles somehow, with Lucia now taking care of her mother as much as Anna cared for her. "I laid out your black dress on the bed," Lucia added, "and I polished your shoes." "Thank you, sweetheart." Anna hugged her daughter tightly. "What would I do without you?" "Probably still be mopping floors at the academy," Lucia said with a grin. They ate together, talking about everything except the upcoming recital, which Lucia sensed would only increase Anna's anxiety. Afterward, Anna changed into her dress, the one nice outfit she had splurged on 3 months ago, when it became clear she would be included in academy performances. Looking in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Gone was the stooped posture of a woman trying to be invisible. In its place stood someone with dignity and purpose, her silver-streaked hair arranged neatly, her eyes bright with anticipation rather than dulled by fatigue. "You look beautiful, Mom," Lucia said from the doorway. "I look different," Anna replied thoughtfully. "You look like yourself," Lucia corrected, "the self you were always meant to be." The recital hall was already filling when Anna and Lucia arrived. Anna went backstage while Lucia found a seat in the audience. In the green room, other performers were warming up, adjusting their attire or sitting quietly in concentration. Thomas, the student who had played Chopin at the fundraiser 6 months ago, nodded to her from across the room. Their relationship had evolved from initial awkwardness to mutual respect after Professor Wilson had assigned them a four-hands piece to practice together. "Nervous?" he asked. "Terrified," Anna admitted. "You?" "Always," he said with a smile. "But it gets easier. Sort of." Anna was scheduled to perform in the middle of the program. She listened to the earlier performers with half an ear, her mind focused on her own piece, mentally rehearsing the tricky passages. When her turn came, she walked onto the stage with measured steps, conscious of Professor Wilson watching from the wings. The audience was smaller than at the fundraiser, mostly family members of students and academy staff, but in some ways this made it more intimidating. These were people who understood music, who could appreciate both her progress and her limitations. Anna sat at the piano, adjusted the bench, and took a deep breath. She placed her hands on the keys and began to play. The Beethoven Bagatelle was a playful piece with rhythmic challenges and sudden dynamic changes that had initially given her trouble. But over weeks of practice, she had come to love its quirky charm and hidden depths. As she played, Anna felt the now familiar transformation happen, the nervous energy channeling itself into the music, her focus narrowing until there was nothing in the world except her hands on the keys and the sounds they created. She was aware of technical aspects that would have been beyond her 6 months ago. The balance between her hands, the clarity of her articulation, the careful pedaling. But beneath the technique was something that had been there from the beginning, her innate sense of what the music was saying, the emotion behind the notes. This was what Professor Wilson had recognized in her playing, what he had carefully nurtured while building her technical foundation. Anna finished the piece with a delicate final phrase, lifting her hands from the keys with newfound confidence. The applause that followed was warm and genuine. As she stood to bow, she caught sight of Lucia in the third row, beaming with pride, and Professor Wilson in the wings, offering a subtle nod of approval. Backstage after her performance, Anna was approached by Dr. Winters, the university professor who had spoken to her at the fundraiser. "Lovely performance, Ms. Perez," he said. You've made remarkable progress in a short time. Thank you, Anna replied. I've had excellent teachers, and clearly the discipline to make the most of their instruction. He smiled warmly. I mentioned our community outreach program to you once before. We're expanding it next year to include adult education and music therapy initiatives. We're looking for someone with both musical knowledge and life experience to help coordinate. Someone who understands that music education isn't just for the young or privileged. Anna looked at him in surprise. Are you offering me a job? Let's call it an opportunity to discuss possibilities, Dr. Winters replied. The position would include taking classes at the university as part of your professional development. A chance to continue your own musical journey while helping others begin theirs. Before Anna could respond, Director Harrington approached. All smiles for Dr. Winters. James, so glad you could make it tonight. I see you've remembered our Anna. He placed a proprietary hand on Anna's shoulder. One of our success stories. Indeed, Dr. Winters said, his eyes still on Anna. We were just discussing some potential collaboration between the academy and the university. Director Harrington's smile tightened slightly. Anna is quite an asset to our program now. I can see that, Dr. Winters replied mildly, which is why I think she might be perfect for bridging our institutions. Anna felt a surge of confidence she would not have recognized in her former self. I'd be very interested in hearing more about this opportunity, Dr. Winters, she said clearly. Perhaps we could meet next week to discuss details? Perfect, Dr. Winters said, handing her a card. Tuesday afternoon? She'll check her schedule and get back to you, Director Harrington interjected, but Anna merely smiled. Tuesday afternoon would be fine, she said. Thank you. Later that evening, as the recital concluded with a reception in the academy lobby, Anna found herself surrounded by well-wishers, fellow students, her colleagues from the library, and even a few of the cleaning staff who had come to support their former co-worker. Mrs. Patel hugged her warmly. So proud of you, Anna. You showed them all. Professor Wilson stopped by briefly, typically succinct in his assessment. Articulation in the middle section needs work. But the musicality was there. Good job. From across the room, Anna caught sight of Lucia chatting animatedly with Dr. Winters. Her daughter looked up, met her eyes, and gave her a thumbs up. In that moment, Anna felt a profound sense of rightness. 6 months ago, she had been forced onto a stage as part of a cruel joke that backfired. Tonight, she had walked onto that same stage by choice, prepared and purposeful. Her journey was far from over. There were still techniques to master, pieces to learn, skills to develop. The university position, if it worked out, would present new challenges and opportunities. Her life would continue to evolve in ways she couldn't yet imagine. But one thing had been permanently transformed: the way Anna saw herself. No longer a shadow person, existing only to clean up after others. No longer someone whose dreams had been deferred until they nearly died. She was Anna Perez, pianist, music librarian, student, mother. A woman who had found her voice through her fingers on the keys. A woman who had, in middle age, finally claimed her right to pursue the passion that had sustained her through years of hardship. As she moved through the reception, accepting congratulations and engaging in conversations she would have avoided just months ago, Anna felt the weight of her former invisibility fall away completely. Tomorrow would bring more practice, more learning, more growth. But tonight she would celebrate how far she had already come, not just in her playing but in reclaiming the person she was always meant to be.